The beliefs I had about what fasting meant created intensity, rigidness, and a mindset that caused me to have low energy for workouts, eating later and later more into the day to make up for the lack of food. And instead of understanding the benefits and the supportive components of fasting, I was just following along with the fitness trend. I'm Carly. I'm a functional nutritionist and personal trainer, and I've helped over 100 women lose weight through sustainable lifestyle changes that work naturally with your rhythms and the demands of your family, not against them. And after seeing how intermittent fasting had backfired for mothers, I'm sharing what works instead. There was a time before I had children where I was following the 16-8 fasting schedule or the 20 and 4-hour eating window. And in that time, what I was doing is depriving myself from all the gains I could have had from my workouts. I was showing up fasted and then doing cardio, fasted and doing HIIT workouts. But what I was also feeling was depleted. Once I stepped into motherhood, I realized that this was not the exact greatest setup for a woman who is taking care of children and meeting the demands of family, but I can tell you what I learned instead. What I learned instead is it's more important to think about giving yourself permission to eat because your food is your fuel. I found that for most women, any kind of conversation or language around restriction causes the binge cycle to turn back on. Think about childbirth language. Contractions, labor, pushing. These words all create associations with pain, struggle, intensity, when birth can be really empowering, beautiful, natural, and euphoric. Well, the same thing happens with the fasting language. When we use words like dieting, restriction, deprivation, discipline, control, willpower, we start to actually engage in this restrictive binge. So when your brain hears restriction or fasting, it immediately starts to plan for that rebound. It's like telling the toddler they can't have something. Suddenly that something becomes the only thing that they want. Your body creates this imbalance and rebalance with a restriction. So the harder you restrict, the harder you feel like you have to fight against yourself for something that's not naturally fitting in your family flow. It will follow with cravings, obsessive food thoughts, and eventually some type of binge. And for moms who are already dealing with stress and sleep deprivation and hormonal changes, this restriction language actually amplifies that chaos. Your nervous system is not going to tell the difference between I'm choosing not to eat and there's no food available. So it triggers that survival mode. So I want to talk about what fasting is and what it isn't. What fasting is intentionally meal planning that works with your natural rhythms. And understanding the science behind the metabolic flexibility is actually beneficial for you. It's focused on supporting your energy, your digestion, and your clarity. It's supportive to your lifestyle and your family needs. It's flexible and adaptable for your real life. What fasting isn't is a crazy diet trend that you need to just jump on, or it's not depletion or punishment for your body. It's not just restriction based on willpower or a battle, and it's not just a rigid rule that you have to fight against to fit into your reality. There's also not a one-size-fits-all approach that is just going to ignore your family needs. The key difference, true fasting is supportive to your natural process. The restriction fights against that. So I want to talk about the science behind flexible eating windows and what actually happens for your body where it's supportive for your digestive health, and so you can start to implement it into your everyday life. In terms of your digestive health, studies are showing that intermittent eating patterns can actually improve the gut microbe diversity and reduce inflammation in your digestive tract. In terms of your blood sugar, research demonstrates that it improves your insulin sensitivity and your glucose regulation with strategic meal planning. In terms of your gut microbes, recent studies reveal that giving your gut regular rest periods supports the beneficial bacteria growth. And in terms of cellular repair, autophagy, or like when the cells die, occurs naturally during this fasting period, and that's supportive to your overall hormone health. In terms of hormonal balance, strategic eating patterns can also support healthy cortisol rhythms and improve your sleep quality. But here's what the studies don't tell you. All of these fasting benefits will disappear when fasting becomes a source of chronic stress. The research was done on controlled environments, not on sleep-deprived moms juggling family demands. So here is your permission slip to try to hone in on an eating window and not be so focused on fasting or breaking your fast early or have the language that sets you up for feeling deprived. Remember that you don't need more willpower. You actually need more flexibility and understanding about the benefits of why you're going to do it. Every person's individual timing matters, so make sure it aligns with your schedule, your circadian rhythm, when you're waking up, when you're going to bed at night. Stop forcing the methods designed for people without responsibilities. You're not a solo person, you're not a single person, you're tending to children, so you need to work with what's actually happening in your family instead. So instead of that rigid fasting, try intentional fueling patterns. So in the morning, eat within that first hour of waking and be mindful that you are actually going to be completely full enough to last you 4 to 5 hours. So within that first window of waking, that 30-60 minutes, it's important to get in that 30 grams of protein, your fat, and your fiber that's going to support your digestive health as well. Then you want that meal to actually satiate you, fulfill you for 4 to 5 hours. And that next time, eat another meal. Again, a balanced meal. 30 grams of protein is a good number to try to hit in these meals. And then again, having that meal last 4 or 5 hours and having your last meal end at least 3 hours before bedtime. When I start working with my clients, I have them hone in first on a 12-hour eating window. And while studies have tested and shown that 80% of people think that they eat their food within an 8-hour eating window or a 12-hour eating window, it is completely wrong once they tracked it. Most people are eating their food in a 16-hour eating window. What I like to see is that eventually we start to decrease our eating window. So instead of eating in 16-hour eating window, just eat everything except for water in a 5 to 5 hour eating window. In just doing that, you're going to start to see the benefits that I talked to above. Now, the trick here is this is not a diet. This is absolutely just the lifestyle of you no longer eating within at least 3 hours before you go to bed to help yourself get in a better sleep, which is going to help your circadian rhythm, which gives your digestive system time to help repair itself in those nighttime hours. I've seen so many women make such a huge stride in losing weight and feeling more energetic by eating first thing in the morning and also by ending their meal earlier in the daytime. They're able to shed the fat. They're turning themselves into that lean fat burning machine. If you're ready to ditch the diet restriction and find out what actually works for you in your mom life, then join my free email series, 1 Week to the Clarity That You Seek, and you can get the link below. You'll discover my flexible approach that works with your schedule and not against it, because you deserve a method that fits your life as a mom. And if you missed it in my other videos about how coffee habits and your liver health are affecting your weight loss, or if you missed Marianne's 26-pound transformation story, watch those here next. Plus, hit subscribe because I'm sharing the real reason why you can't stop snacking at night, and it's not about willpower.